Hey guys, John, the Armchair Technician. I wanted to put out a video showing kind of the progress of the shop so far in 2020. Pretty much I've only been working it on weekends. I've taken a lot of footage, just like hours of footage. But what I really hate is video editing. So I keep, like, footage keeps piling up and stuff. So I just wanted to kind of do a quick little tour of where I am. And maybe later I'll be able to finally edit some of the old video and maybe make a time lapse and stuff. But show you where we're at. So, one big thing that probably wasn't seen is previously I did a video where I took out all the duct work that was up here and the asbestos and stuff, and then I started working on putting foam board insulation, 2-inch R13 foam board insulation all around. And let me just go ahead and get the camera here. Apologize. Alright, so first we'll start with this back wall. Now, I can only back up so far. Okay. So for this, also I have a new camera, which I'm learning. So this back wall was probably the most difficult, so I started with it first. It's a rock wall behind it. If I can, I'll try and put a picture in, but if not, you'll just have to take my word. And at the bottom, about 2 feet up is where it's touching. And then as you go up, the rock wall slopes back to you eventually have just a 9-inch gap. So after some struggle, what I did is I just put the foam board insulation in first, loose fitting, just let it flop around in there. And then I built this 2x4 frame wall. Now some of you that have done this before are going to be like, what's all these little section pieces here? And I got them at the bottom as well. Oh, there's a trash can in the way. Wow, you cannot see that at all. But anyway, I do have some of these little L pieces going across. But I got L pieces at the top and bottom. Because my floor, maybe you can see them under there if I zoom in. Yeah, you can kind of see some at the bottom there. Because my floor is not level, and I don't trust myself to come up with the perfect slope, what I did is I made the top beam level across the rafters. And actually, between these two main trusses here, they are actually level. And then over here, in this corner, I had to put some shivs in to actually get it to be a kind of level with the truss. And I did I put some squares on there to make it square with that white wall. And so I did the top rafter first. I did the bottom one. I did put tap cones into the floor, and then I put all my vertical sticks in, each one cutting to length. And I'm gonna just see here at the top of each one, if that will focus at all. Let me do this. Okay, I'm not getting to focus, but so this one, it reads 80.5 is the height. This is 80 3/8, 80 3/8, 80 1/4, 80 1/4. This one is 80.5, 81 3/8 there at that corner. So I had to make each one custom to fit the distance between the floor and the ceiling. That's why I did it that way. Also, in order to make a wall, what most people do is they make a wall on the floor and then they swing it up. Even if I can get all the heights worked out perfectly beforehand, I'd have to take out all the shelving and stuff to have the room to even do that. And I didn't feel like doing that. So I made each stick one at a time, made L shapes they're screwed into the top, and then the sticks, the vertical beams are screwed into the kind of the L pieces. And over here, this corner is actually floating at the top. It's floating probably about 12 inches away from the wall, whereas at the bottom I'm pushed up and really almost forced into the wall. It's probably a good indent on the other side of the foam board. Up here, what I had to do was make a kind of a floating beam for my corner. This intersection right here, you see the foam behind the board. At first I made a mistake and I put that the whole way to the wall, but then I cut it off and I put foam insulation, both foam board and regular foam, behind it to kind of create a thermal break. So this floating beam is relatively level, and then I connected over to that, and I had to do another L inside of there, and then I brought a piece of foam across to fill in that gap. I have a piece of foam ready to fill in the top. This 2x4 is just clamped in place, holding it so that the glue dries. Been using a great stuff. It's a spray foam construction adhesive for most of this, to both fill in the gaps and to tack everything in place. And then here, I tore the original workbench off so I could work, and there's the old workbench up on our sawhorses. Here is going to be my only fixed piece of furniture. This is going to be kind of my miter saw stand, maybe a few other things. And I have a rock wall here, halfway up, and that rock wall slopes down. Let me just pardon my interruption here, but essentially, just to give you an example there, less than 4 feet, I'm up 1.5 inches on slope. The foam board is glued to the rock wall, and then I glued this board onto it. I got some different masonry bits and stuff, tried to drill into the wall, or into the rock, but I did not get very far, even with the hammer drill, so it is what it is. But this is actually pretty good, and it's not a load-bearing thing. This board is not going anywhere. I'm going to use that to give me something to screw into. So far I've extended out to here, followed the wall along, and if we look down here you can see some of the gaps I have to deal with, how the wall is round. And I do have an overhang on the rigid foam sticking out, but that's fine. And then I did, just the other day, I did some tacking here. All these little boards he screwed here are to hold that rigid foam board in place till the glue dried. It's all dry now, so that can all come out. And then I just have to finish up this corner. I'm going to have a lot of gap between the foam board and the inner wall. I might throw some batted insulation in there. And I got to make this corner, and then I want to continue the foam board for the rest of this wall, and to make that corner and into here. And then I'm going to do something very similar to this wall. I'm going to be building the 2x4 frame around it, but I will have a difference in that I'm going to set up little blocks along the way to level it out. I'm going to have to do some shimming and maybe some trimming to come up with some, to basically create a level platform. And actually I probably will build this wall, portions of this wall separate, and then I will push them into place on that level platform that I make. And let's see, I also need a little piece of foam board up across that top beam, which does stick out further than the wall, so that might be a little bit of a challenge, how much I'm going to account for that. Alright, so that's where things are. And like I said, this here is going to be a workbench. I'm going to have this board is level across, and just like the back wall, since the floor slopes down, I've had to keep making each stick separately. Let's see if we can get these measurements here. I just not focus in here. Make it darker. Alright, so this was 39 1/8. Well, that's the whole length, so 36 and 3/16. And this one was a little bit odd because it was in between. This one is 36. 35 1/2, 36, that's a 1/2 inch. 36 and 3/16, 36 1/2, 37, 37 1/4, 37 3/4, and at the end here 38 1/8, and I think 38 for the one before that. So a lot of slope to this floor. If I ever have drainage problems, water will just, if I ever get water in, it'll just drain right down. But the top is level, and then I'm going to have a board going. I'm going to create like a torsion box, which will basically be 2x4s going straight across to create, basically a 3.5 inch box there, and that'll attach to the wall that's there, to the vertical wall, and then my work surface will go on top of that. And that's where my miter saw will sit, and a lot of my work, and maybe some other tools. I might put some stuff on the wall, but we'll see. And then over in this corner where I am having lighting issue. I only have one light. Let me get myself. Okay. I'm trying all the different. Oh, there we go. There's brighter. Alright, this corner is going to have a drill stand and a bandsaw stand, and they'll be on wheels, and they'll be made roughly to match the height of this fixed piece of furniture, so that if I need to wheel them up and use this bench for support, I'll be able to. The drill will be easy because it has that self-raising stand. And then swinging around, let's see, 12 minutes. I'm at 12-minute mark here. So these two shelves are actually going to slide up against that wall once all is said and done. And over here, just to the right of that wire going through, there's going to be an opening made between my main office where the climate control is. A fan will be put in to pull air into this side and cool this side down. Let's see, the last thing I'm going to work on is on the ceiling. I'm going to take 1 inch foam board. I think it'll be 1 inch. And these boards going across are 1 inch thick. So I'm going to glue the foam board up there. And then I'm trying to decide on lighting. I'm probably going to do track lighting. And I'm going to basically run drywall over top of the foam board, and I'll have it screw into the floor above, as long as I make sure the nails are the right thickness so they don't punch through. Will be good, and then the track lighting will go. If I do need, if I decide I'm going to run wiring in the ceiling, I will go ahead and put like 2x2s or even 1x to create something to both hold the, it'll screw into the foam board insulation in the flooring, and then I'll have the drywall screw onto that. I just need enough space for the wire to go, but I'm thinking any lighting is going to be flush mounted onto the drywall itself and not recessed in. And I'm going to make a continuous seam from the ceiling foam to the wall foam. This here is going to be a little interesting because part of that wall goes kind of into a cavity, so I'll have to make sure I block that off appropriately. And yeah, I'm just going to continue all the way around. I'll probably make a little box around these beams here because there's going to be a lot of wire going across. But yeah, that is basically the state of the workshop. And so hopefully I can get this uploaded without having to do too much editing. And sometime later, maybe we'll see some more. We'll just pick up from here. Thank you. Have a good day.